The truth is, sometimes the people everyone ignores are carrying the most dangerous secrets of all, and sometimes all it takes is one cruel sentence to awaken a past that was never truly buried. Before we begin, if you enjoy emotional stories filled with mystery, power, and unexpected twists, make sure to subscribe and stay with me until the end. Because this story is about far more than revenge. It's about survival, love, and the cost of being underestimated. Chicago's Rush Street had a language of its own. Money screamed from every polished surface, while real power moved quietly behind expensive smiles. Inside Toscana Prime, one of the city's most exclusive Italian steakhouses, perfection wasn't just expected, it was demanded. Imported marble floors reflected crystal chandeliers. Politicians whispered over rare wine. Celebrities laughed behind guarded privacy. Men with blood on their hands wore tailored suits and discussed business over steak. And then, there was Penny Penelope Gallagher, according to her name tag. 32 years old, exhausted, carrying more weight than society ever allowed women to carry without judgment. At 5'4", her body looked painfully out of place among the restaurant's carefully curated elegance. Her black uniform stretched tightly around her curves. Sweat clung to her forehead by the middle of every shift. Her feet ached constantly, and every step felt like punishment. People noticed, but not as a human being. That's the cruel thing about social status. Sometimes wealth doesn't just buy luxury. It buys the illusion that certain people matter more than others. To Toscana, Prime's elite clientele, Penny was invisible. Until she became inconvenient, she saw their stares, the judgment, the silent mockery from women who measured worth by waistlines and men who treated kindness like weakness. Their eyes always said the same thing: why is someone like her working here? She ruins the atmosphere. Still, Penny kept moving, because survival doesn't care about dignity. Bills had to be paid, rent had to be covered, and cash tips, untraceable cash tips, helped her stay hidden. That word mattered more than anyone around her could possibly understand. At exactly 9:15 p.m., everything changed. The double doors swung open, and the entire restaurant shifted. You know those moments when fear enters a room before a person does? This was one of them. The manager nearly stumbled, rushing forward, his face drained of color. Leo Moretti had arrived. At 34, Leo was the undisputed head of the Moretti crime syndicate. He inherited power 10 years earlier, after the mysterious murder of his father, Don Giovanni Moretti. Unsolved, unforgiven. Leo walked like a man who knew nobody would dare stop him. His custom charcoal suit fit perfectly over broad shoulders. Expensive cologne lingered behind him. His expression was cold, unreadable, dangerous. At his side were two trusted capos, Dante Rossi Tommy, Lucchese. Men known for making problems disappear before sunrise. They ignored the host, stand and headed directly to the VIP booth permanently, reserved for the Moretti family. And fate, as cruel as ever, assigned Penny to their table. Her manager grabbed her arm so hard she nearly winced. "Don't mess this up," he hissed. "Don't look him in the eye. Speak only when spoken to. If you ruin this, you're fired." Penny gave a quiet nod. No argument, no complaint, just endurance. She picked up an expensive bottle of wine, an $800 vintage, and began walking toward the booth. Her heart pounded. Step by step, slow, measured, controlled. At the table, Leo was already furious. He was discussing a failed shipment at the port of Chicago. Even his low voice carried lethal weight. "I gave them until midnight," he said coldly. "If the money isn't transferred by 12:01, burn everything." That kind of calm anger is terrifying because shouting isn't always the scariest thing. Sometimes quiet rage is worse. Penny approached. Carefully, her hands trembled as she uncorked the bottle. She leaned forward to pour Leo's glass. First then, everything went wrong. Tommy shifted his chair backward to let someone pass. The heavy wood slammed directly into Penny's hip. She lost balance, her shoes slipped on polished marble. The bottle flew, and in one horrifying second, gravity decided everyone's fate. Red wine exploded across Leo Moretti's chest. Dark crimson soaked his white silk shirt. The bottle shattered. Glass scattered across the table. Silence complete. Silence, not ordinary silence, the Kind of silence that feels like oxygen has vanished. Forks stopped. Conversations died, even the music felt distant. Leo sat motionless for 3 agonizing seconds. Then he slowly looked up, straight at Penny. She froze. Her breathing turned shallow. She tried to apologize. No words came out. Leo stood, towering over her. His presence alone felt violent. "Look at me," he said. His voice was barely above a whisper, but everyone heard. Penny kept her eyes lowered. I said, "Look at me." This time it hit like a gunshot. She slowly raised her chin. Leo's eyes burned with disgust. "Are you stupid?" he sneered. "Or just blind?" He stepped closer. Then came the humiliation. Public, intentional, cruel. "Look at you," he said coldly. Clumsy, sweating, pathetic. Penny felt tears rising, but she fought them. She had heard insults. Before fat, lazy, disgusting. People think repeated cruelty becomes easier over time. It doesn't. It just buries deeper then. Leo said the sentence that cracked something inside her. Who hired this fat, incompetent cow? The room remained frozen. Dante reached into his jacket. "I'll handle her," but Leo raised a hand. No. His eyes stayed locked on Penny. "I want her on her knees, cleaning my shoes with her bare hands." Now that was the moment, the exact moment everything changed. Because Penny didn't move, something shifted. The trembling waitress disappeared. The exhausted woman vanished, and in her place stood someone else. Her posture changed, subtle but terrifying, like a soldier remembering who she used to be. The fear evaporated, replaced by something ancient, cold, sharp, controlled. She looked directly into Leo's eyes, not at his suit, not at his reputation, at him, into his soul. Then Penny leaned forward and spoke. Her voice was calm, steady, chilling. "You scream exactly like your father did, Leo." She paused. "Every person in the room stopped breathing. Right before I put a bullet in his head to save your life." And just like that, time stopped. The silence that followed felt unnatural, not quiet, not still, unnatural, like the entire restaurant had slipped out of time. No one moved, no one breathed. Even the air felt heavy. Dante and Tommy reacted. First, metal clicked, weapons drawn. 2. Guards across the room shot to their feet, hands already inside their jackets. The polished luxury of Toscana Prime disappeared in an instant, replaced by raw violence. "Take her outside," Dante growled, aiming his gun directly at Penny's chest. Now, but Leo didn't move. That alone terrified everyone, because men like Leo Moretti were predictable in one way. When threatened, they reacted instantly. Yet now, he stood frozen, his face drained of color. His breathing became shallow. His eyes widened, locked on Penny like he was staring at a ghost. Only 2 people knew what had truly happened 10 years ago in that warehouse. Leo, and the woman who pulled the trigger, the woman who shoved him out of the way when his father's rage became murderous, the woman who shot Don Giovanni Moretti, the woman Leo believed died 3 days later in a car explosion, a death meant to erase the final witness. "Stand down," Leo whispered. Dante frowned. "Boss, she just..." And I said, "Stand down." Leo's voice cracked through the restaurant like thunder. His men slowly lowered their guns. Nobody understood what they were witnessing, but everyone felt it. Power had shifted, and when power shifts suddenly, people panic. Leo took a slow step forward, then another. His eyes scanned Penny's face desperately. It made no sense. The woman in his memory was nothing like the woman standing before him. The Penny he remembered had wild auburn, curls and sharp cheekbones. She was quick, fierce, fearless, fire wrapped in flesh. This woman looked exhausted, older than her age, heavier, worn down by life. Her face was softer now, rounded by years of suffering. Her hair was dull brown, tied into a frizzy bun. Her body carried visible scars of hardship. No resemblance, none, until he looked at her eyes, emerald green, and in the left iris, a tiny fleck of gold. Recognition hit him like a bullet. His knees nearly buckled. He stumbled forward, catching himself on the edge of the table. He didn't care about the wine, the ruined suit, the terrified witnesses. Nothing mattered. Only her. Penny. Her name tore from his throat like broken glass. Penelope. That was it. The wall inside Penny finally cracked, her eyes filled with tears. For 10 years she had buried everything: pain, fear, love, regret, and now all of it returned at once. "Hello, little lion," she whispered. The nickname, the private name only she used. Leo made a sound that wasn't quite a sob and wasn't quite a growl. It was grief, raw grief. He spun toward his men. "Everyone out, nobody moved," Leo roared. "Clear the restaurant. Shut the doors. Pull the blinds. If anyone looks through the glass, shoot them." Chaos erupted. Dante barked orders. Tommy shoved stunned customers toward the exit. Judges, businessmen, socialites, everyone fled. Plates shattered, chairs scraped marble. Luxury collapsed into panic. Within minutes, Toscana Prime stood empty. Only Leo and Penny remained inside and armed guards outside. Leo stepped closer, closer. He raised a shaking hand toward her cheek, but stopped inches away as if touching her might make her disappear. "They told me you burned," he whispered, and suddenly the ruthless Mafia boss vanished. In his place stood a broken boy. "They gave me your necklace from the wreckage." His voice trembled. "I buried an empty casket." "Penny!" Tears streamed down his face. "I buried my heart in that grave," Penny gave a bitter laugh, wet broken. She stepped back, crossing her arms tightly over her chest, and something painful surfaced. Shame. This is what trauma often does. It doesn't only scar the body, it changes how people believe they deserve to be seen. She became painfully aware of herself, her weight, her body, her scars, the distance between who she had been and who she was now. "I did burn, Leo." Her voice shook, slowly. She unbuttoned the top of her uniform. She pulled the fabric aside. Leo stopped, breathing. Thick burn scars crawled across her collarbone and down her chest, jagged, raised, angry, permanent. The evidence of survival. Leo covered his mouth. The horror in his eyes wasn't disgust, it was pain. "The blast threw me from the car before the flames took it," she said. Her voice became hollow, like someone reading from a nightmare. "Woke up in a charity hospital in Indiana." She swallowed hard. 3 broken ribs, 3rd-degree burns, a shattered femur. Skull fracture. Leo clenched his fists. Every injury felt personal. But then she said something worse. The worst part wasn't the burns. She touched her throat. "Shrapnel tore through here," Leo stared. "It destroyed my thyroid," Ilens returned, heavy, crushing. For a moment, Leo couldn't speak. Then emotion exploded out of him. "Why didn't you call me?" His voice cracked. "Why didn't you come back?" He stepped toward her desperately. "I would have found the best doctors. I would have torn this city apart for you," Penny snapped. "And then what, Leo?" Her anger finally surfaced. The buried rage, the pain, the humiliation, it all erupted. "Come back to the family that tried to murder me." She pointed at him. "Do you think your father's loyalists would welcome me back after I killed the Don?" Her breathing became ragged. "Do you think your Uncle Carmine wanted me alive?" Leo's jaw hardened instantly. "Carmine is dead." Penny froze. "I buried him 5 years ago," Leo said coldly. "For betrayal." Then his voice darkened further. "If I had known he ordered the hit on you," his fists turned white, "I would have kept him alive for months." That sentence mattered because revenge isn't always about violence. Sometimes revenge is grief refusing to disappear. Penny looked away. Tears returned. But now something deeper emerged, the easty truth she feared most. "I didn't come back because—" She hesitated, then gestured toward herself. "Look, at me." Her voice shattered. "I spent 2 years in hospital beds." She wiped tears angrily. "They pumped me with synthetic hormones, steroids, medications." Her breathing trembled. "My metabolism collapsed." She touched her waist. "I gained weight so fast I barely recognized myself." The words came faster now, as if releasing. 10 years of suffocation. No money, no therapy, no future. I hid in motels. I ate whatever I could afford. Then came the sentence that revealed everything. "I went from the woman you loved." Her voice broke. "To this." She looked at him with raw pain. A fat, sweaty joke. The same woman who had faced guns without flinching, could barely survive her own reflection. That's what many people misunderstand about suffering. Physical pain heals faster than shame. Leo stepped forward, Slowly, deliberately, no, his voice. Dropped low, fierce, desperate, no. He closed the distance between them. Penny flinched, but he didn't stop. He grabbed her waist, pulled her against his chest, held her tightly as if letting go would destroy him. Don't ever say that. His hands rose to her face, gentle, reverent. He wiped away her tears, and when he looked at her, he didn't see weight. He didn't see scars. He saw the woman who saved his life. The woman he never stopped loving. You are a queen. He pressed his forehead to hers. I don't care if you carry 100 scars. His voice shook with devotion. You are Penelope. You are mine, and I will spend the rest of my life making up for what I said. Tonight, for the first time in 10 years, Penny let herself lean into him. Just a little, just enough to feel warmth, safety, home. But then her eyes opened. Fear returned. A different fear, worse than before, because Leo still didn't know the biggest secret. She slowly pulled back. Her hands trembled. Leo. Her voice barely came out. There's another reason I never came back. Leo frowned. His hands tightened protectively. What is it? Penny's tears spilled over. You can't fix this, Leo stared. What are you talking about? Penny inhaled shakily, then spoke the words that would change his life forever. He's sitting in a tiny apartment right now. She paused, wondering why his mother isn't home. Leo froze. Blood thundered in his ears. Penny looked directly at him. Her voice broke completely. His name is Matteo, she swallowed. He has your eyes. Another breath, and then the truth. He's 9 years old. Leo. Time stopped again. Leo didn't blink, didn't breathe, didn't move. A single word echoed in his mind. Son. Son. The word didn't just land in the room, it detonated. Leo staggered backward until the edge of the mahogany table stopped him. Crystal glasses rattled from the impact. His hand rose to his mouth as if physically trying to hold himself together. Son. The words came out broken, foreign, almost unreal. Penny stood frozen, arms wrapped around herself as though bracing against judgment. That's the cruel thing about life-changing truths. We imagine revelation as dramatic certainty, but real revelation often looks like disbelief, shock, silence, a mind desperately trying to rearrange reality. He turns 10 in October, Penny said softly. Leo stared at her, still not blinking, still not breathing normally. Penny continued, voice trembling but steady enough to push through. He loves math. A faint, painful smile touched her lips. He's brilliant. She wiped at her cheeks. He's protective. Too protective sometimes. Another breath, and when he gets angry, she almost laughed through tears. His eyes go dark. Just like yours. Leo's chest heaved. Emotions surged through him in violent waves. Joy, rage, grief, guilt. He had missed everything. His son's first breath, first steps, first words, first birthday, while he drank expensive whiskey inside a mansion, mourning a dead woman. That woman had been alive. Broken, starving, raising his child alone. Sometimes regret is more painful than physical injury, because wounds on the body eventually scar. Regret keeps reopening. Leo suddenly roared, "Dante!" The doors burst open instantly. Dante and Tommy rushed in, weapons ready. "Boss?" Leo's voice returned cold, absolute. But beneath that steel burned something new, urgency. "Bring the armored Maybach to the alley." Dante blinked. "The Morabito shipment." "Forget the Morabitos." The force of his interruption stunned everyone. "If they haven't paid by midnight, burn everything." His eyes shifted back to Penny, soft again. "My priorities have changed," that sentence said more than he realized. Powerful men rarely admit something matters more than power. But fatherhood had already begun reshaping him. Leo stepped closer to Penny. "Take me to him." His voice broke. "Take me to my son." 10 minutes later, Penny sat inside Leo's heavily armored SUV. The contrast was surreal. Cheap-stained Waitress uniform, buttery leather seats, bulletproof glass. Luxury so excessive it almost felt obscene. Penny's stomach churned, not because of the vehicle, because everything was moving too fast. Leo sat beside her, His large hand gripped hers tightly. He refused to let go. As the convoy crossed Chicago, city lights changed. Downtown glamour faded. Glass towers disappeared. Luxury gave way to neglect. Streetlights flickered. Buildings decayed. Graffiti spread across cracked walls. The South Side, the kind of place wealthy people discuss like statistics instead of neighborhoods. They stopped outside a decaying brick apartment building. Half the streetlights were broken. A buzzing liquor store sign painted sick neon across shattered sidewalks. Leo stared through the glass. His jaw tightened. "You lived here?" Penny shrank into herself. "My family lived here. Quiet, matter of fact. It's what I could afford." Then the sentence that hurt most. No questions asked. Leo closed his eyes briefly. The meaning hit him instantly. Cheap places don't ask questions because desperate people don't have options. "Never again," he said. Low. Dangerous final. He kissed her knuckles. "You will never walk these streets alone again." Dante and Tommy secured the perimeter. Leo followed Penny inside. 3 flights of stairs, rotting walls, the smell of stale cigarettes, damp mold. Each step fueled Leo's rage. His son lived here. His son slept here. His empire controlled millions, and his heir survived in this? That kind of guilt transforms men, not always into better people, sometimes into more dangerous ones. Penny unlocked apartment 3B. The door opened. Inside was tiny but clean, painfully clean. That detail mattered. Poverty and neglect are not the same. Some people have little and still fight to preserve dignity. A small television played baseball at low volume. On a worn-out couch sat a boy. At the sound of the lock, he sat upright instantly, alert, sharp, observant. Leo stopped breathing. "Mom?" The boy stood, then moved, not toward her, in front of her, protective, instinctive. His body positioned itself between Penny and the stranger. Leo's heart nearly stopped. There he was, 9 years old, and staring at him was his own childhood. Same jawline, same brow, same calculating eyes. It felt impossible, like looking into a mirror through time. "Who is this?" the boy asked. His eyes narrowed at Leo's stained shirt. "Why is he covered in blood?" "It's wine, Matty," Penny said softly. Her voice cracked. She knelt despite the pain in her knees, wrapped her arms around him. "It's okay." She kissed his hair. "We're safe." Leo still couldn't move. Emotion locked his body. Then slowly, he dropped to his knees, designer suit against cheap linoleum. He didn't care. Nothing mattered. Only the boy. Only Matteo. Tears streamed freely down Leo's face. "Hello, Matteo." The boy frowned, young face hardening. Suspicion, intelligence, wariness. He looked at his mother, then back at Leo. "Why is he crying?" Before Penny could answer, Leo spoke. "Because..." His voice trembled. "Because I've been looking for you for a very, very long time." His chest tightened. He forced the next words out. Glass exploded. The apartment window shattered inward. A storm of broken shards rained through the living room. Then came gunfire. Suppressed automatic fire. Fast, brutal, deadly. Crack, crack, crack. "Down!" Leo roared. Instinct took over. Decades of violent survival moved faster than thought. He lunged, tackled Penny and Matteo to the floor. His body shielded theirs as bullets ripped through drywall. Plaster exploded. Furniture shattered. Outside, chaos erupted. The Morabito crew had moved early. They realized Leo left Toscana Prime vulnerable. They tracked the convoy, and now they had their chance. Kill Leo. Destroy the Moretti line. In a neighborhood where police wouldn't arrive for 20 minutes. Perfect conditions for slaughter. Leo rolled aside, drawing his Glock. His earpiece crackled. "Ambush, boss!" Dante's voice came through gunfire. 3 SUVs, heavy weapons, more shots. They pinned the front entrance. Tommy shouted in the background, "We're returning fire!" Then Penny screamed. "The kitchen window!" Leo spun too late. A boot smashed through the frame. An armed man climbed in with a shotgun. Leo fired twice. Boom! Boom! The attacker flew backward out the window, dead before hitting the alley. But another threat already moved. The front door exploded inward. A second gunman entered. Submachine gun raised, straight at Leo's back. Leo turned, a fraction too slow. Then, crack, a cast iron skillet smashed into the gunman's skull. The attacker collapsed instantly. Leo spun and froze. Penny stood there, panting, face flushed, hair wild. She had crawled to the stove, grabbed the heavy pan, used every ounce of force in her body. Without hesitation, she dropped the skillet, snatched the fallen weapon, racked the bolt, aimed down the hallway. Her stance widened, perfectly balanced, controlled, lethal. The waitress was gone, the warrior remained, green eyes burned, the same deadly fire from 10 years ago. I didn't survive a car bomb. Her voice came out like steel, just to die in a cheap apartment. Leo stared, not shocked, not confused, awestruck. This mattered, because love isn't always softness. Sometimes love is witnessing someone at their most dangerous and seeing beauty. Her uniform was torn, her body heavy, her breathing ragged, and yet to Leo, she was magnificent. His queen. "Hold the hall," Leo ordered. "Into radio now, Dante alley door, move now." 5 deafening minutes followed. Gunfire, screams, smoke, bodies. Leo cleared the stairwell. Penny covered the rear with ruthless precision. Matteo stayed silent. Not crying, not panicking, watching, learning. That frightened Leo almost as much as the attack. The boy had Moretti blood and Moretti instincts. They burst through the alley door. The armored Maybach waited. Tommy laid suppressive fire with an assault rifle. "Go!" They piled inside. Doors slammed shut. The engine roared, tires screamed, and the convoy tore into the night, leaving fire behind. Inside the SUV, silence slowly replaced adrenaline. Heavy breathing, shaking hands. Then Matteo finally spoke. His voice remained remarkably calm. "Mom." He looked at Leo, then at the gun in his hand, then back. "Who is this guy?" Leo removed the magazine from his weapon, set it aside, then looked at Penny. She met his gaze, slowly nodded. Permission, acceptance. Truth. Leo turned to his son, looked him directly in the eyes and spoke the words he had waited 10 years to say. "I'm Leo Moretti." A pause. Then, "I am your father." The words hung in the air. "I am your father." No explosions, no gunfire, no chaos, just silence. And somehow that silence felt heavier than the bullets they had just escaped. Matteo stared at Leo, expression unreadable, no tears, no shock, no dramatic reaction. Just pure calculation. That alone told Leo everything. The boy processed emotion the way strategists process information, quietly, internally, dangerously fast. Children raised in hardship mature differently. They learn to observe before trusting. They study people before depending on them. Matteo had spent 9 years learning one brutal truth. Promises mean nothing unless actions prove them. He looked at Penny, then back at Leo. "You're my dad." Leo swallowed. "Yes." Matteo narrowed his eyes. "You knew about me." The question cut deep, because sometimes children ask simple questions that expose devastating truths. Leo answered honestly. "No." Matteo stayed silent. Another pause. Then came the next question. "Why not?" Leo's throat tightened. How do you explain 10 stolen years to a child? How do you summarize betrayal, violence, and loss without placing adult burdens on young shoulders? You don't. You tell the truth simply. "Because I thought your mother died." Matteo looked at Penny. She nodded slowly. "It's true." The boy leaned back into the leather seat, thinking, processing. Then, unexpectedly, he shrugged. "Okay." Penny blinked. Leo stared. "Okay?" Leo repeated. Matteo crossed his arms. "If you didn't know, then it's not the same as leaving." Silence. Even Dante, sitting in the front seat, glanced into the mirror. The logic was chillingly precise and strangely compassionate. The boy had inherited more than Leo's face. He had inherited judgment, measured judgment, not emotional impulse. Leo felt something inside his chest crack open. Pride, powerful and terrifying. Matteo wasn't soft, he was sharp, dangerously sharp. Then the boy asked the question neither adult expected. "So, are we rich?" Penny stared. Leo blinked. Dante nearly choked. Tommy burst into laughter. And for the first time that night, Penny laughed too, a real laugh, messy, wet with tears. Human. Sometimes healing doesn't begin with speeches. Sometimes it begins with absurdity. Leo exhaled something close to a laugh. Yes, Matteo nodded seriously. Good. He looked out the window. Our apartment sucked. The SUV erupted. Tommy laughed openly. Even Dante smirked. Leo threw his head back and laughed, a deep booming sound no one had heard from him in years. Penny covered her face, laughing and crying at once, and in that small moment, something extraordinary happened. A family formed, not perfectly, not neatly, but genuinely. Still, joy doesn't erase danger. By sunrise, Leo had already transformed his estate into a fortress. More guards, new perimeter routes, rotating surveillance, no vulnerabilities, no second chances. Because the moment his enemies learned about Penny and Matteo, they became targets. Not symbols, not leverage, targets. That reality changed everything. 2 months passed, and slowly life began reshaping itself. Healing never happens all at once. That's something stories often get wrong. There's no magical morning where pain disappears. Healing is repetition, safety repeated enough times that the nervous system begins to believe danger is over. For Penny, that took time. The first week inside Leo's estate felt unbearable. Too much luxury, too much attention, too much contrast. She still woke up expecting cheap ceiling paint and traffic noise. Instead, she woke to silence. Soft sheets, security outside her door. At first she hated mirrors, not because of vanity, because safety forces people to face what survival helped them ignore. For years, survival gave her no time to feel. Now, emotion returned. Body shame, grief, anger, fear. Old trauma resurfaced, but something had changed. Leo never looked away, not once. He never asked her to lose weight, never suggested hiding scars, never offered conditional love disguised as concern. That mattered more than grand gestures. Real love doesn't begin with transformation. It begins with recognition. Seeing someone fully and staying. Every morning Leo had breakfast with Matteo. Every evening he sat with him. Chess became ritual. At first, Matteo tested him constantly. Children do this with absent parents. Not always consciously. They push, challenge. Observe. Will you stay when I'm difficult? Will you leave when I stop being impressive? Leo never left, and that consistency built trust. Slowly, steadily, dangerously fast for someone who feared attachment. Then came the first moment Penny truly understood something irreversible had happened. She entered the study one afternoon. Matteo sat across from Dante at a chessboard. Dante looked stressed, very stressed. Matteo moved a piece, calmly. Check. Dante frowned. 5 moves later, checkmate. Dante stared at the board, speechless. Matteo leaned back, unbothered. Leo stood nearby holding a bourbon, smirking. Penny watched the scene quietly. Then Dante sighed. The kid is ruthless, boss. Leo's smile widened. Of course he is. He looked toward Penny. He takes after his mother. That sentence hit harder than anyone realized, because for years Penny had only heard one version of herself. Too fat, too broken, too damaged, too much. Now she was being described differently. Strong, strategic, fearless. That changes people. Words shape identity. Cruel words shrink people. Loving truth restores them. And Penny was changing, not physically, that's important, because not all transformation is visible on a scale. She had not lost weight, not a single pound. Her body remained heavy, curved, scarred. But something else disappeared. Shame. And when shame leaves and presence returns. That night, the Moretti estate hosted a private family dinner, massive mahogany table, lavish feast, heavy security outside. Inside, warmth, power, belonging. Then the doors opened. The room fell silent. Penny entered, and everything changed. She wore emerald green silk, custom-tailored, elegant, regal. The dress flowed beautifully over her curves, no concealment, no apology. Her hair, once dull and hidden, now fell in luxurious auburn waves, styled deliberately away from her neck, exposing the burn scars, visible, unhidden, honored. She wore them openly, as medals of survival. Around her neck rested a diamond necklace. Brilliant, but even that wasn't what commanded attention. It was her presence. She no longer entered rooms asking permission to exist. She entered as someone who belonged. That changes how the world responds. Leo stood immediately, crossed toward her, pulled out her chair. His eyes never left her. Not admiration, worship, the kind of devotion powerful men rarely reveal publicly. As she sat, Leo leaned close. He pressed a lingering kiss against the scarred skin of her neck, right over her pulse. "You look breathtaking, Mia Regina, my queen." His voice came rough, reverent. Penny smiled, genuine, radiant, the kind of smile born from survival. Not innocence. She placed her hand over his. "And you," she said softly, "look like a man who finally has his house in order." A small pause, then the private nickname. Little Lion. Leo closed his eyes briefly. Emotion flashed across his face. Love, home, relief. Everything he lost had returned and more. Across the table, Matteo lifted his drink, a child's glass, but his expression looked almost adult, observant, thoughtful. Then he said something that made everyone pause. "So," he glanced between them, "does this mean nobody can hurt us now?" Silence returned. Not painful this time, honest, because that question revealed the deepest human need. Safety, not wealth, not power. Safety. Leo looked directly at his son, then at Penny, and he answered with absolute conviction. "As long as I breathe," his voice hardened, "no one touches this family." Matteo studied him, searching for deception. He found none. So he nodded and accepted the promise. But outside the estate walls, enemies still watched, and power never stops attracting violence. The war wasn't over. It had only changed, because now Leo had something infinitely more dangerous than empire, something worth dying for, something worth killing for. Family. Family. That word changed everything. For Leo Moretti, power had once meant territory, loyalty, fear, and control. He built his empire believing strength came from domination. But now, sitting across from Penny and Matteo, he understood something most powerful men learn too late. Real strength is not measured by how many people fear you. It's measured by what you protect and what you are willing to sacrifice. For a few brief weeks, life inside the Moretti estate felt almost peaceful. Almost. Morning chess games became routine. Matteo improved rapidly, defeating guards, advisors, and eventually Tommy so easily that nobody even pretended surprise anymore. Penny slowly reclaimed pieces of herself she thought were gone forever. She laughed more, slept better, ate without guilt. Leo watched every change, every smile, every relaxed breath. He noticed all of it, because when someone nearly loses everything, they stop taking ordinary moments for granted. But peace has a dangerous weakness. It can make people hope the war is over. It wasn't. One cold evening, Leo stood in his private office reviewing reports when Dante entered without knocking. That alone signaled trouble. Dante's expression was grim. "Boss?" Leo looked up. "What?" Dante placed a folder on the desk. "We intercepted communication." Leo opened it. Photos, satellite prints, vehicle logs, encrypted messages. His face darkened. Morabito, survivors. Not dead. Regrouping, planning retaliation. And then he saw the words that froze his blood. "Take the woman and the boy." Leverage. Leo slowly closed the folder. Silence. The kind of silence his men feared most, because calm Leo was dangerous. Silent Leo was lethal. "They know about them." Dante nodded. "Yes." Leo stood. His chair slid backward. For several seconds he said nothing. Then came a truth that changed the room. No more defensive posture. Dante's brow tightened. "Boss?" Leo's voice dropped to ice. They had their chance. He looked directly at Dante. "No one threatens my family and survives long enough to repeat the mistake." This mattered, Because there is a difference between violence for power and violence for protection. One feeds ego, the other feeds instinct. Leo gathered his crew that night. Every captain, every trusted soldier. The estate war room filled with silence. Maps covered the walls. Weapon crates opened, routes marked. Leo stood at the head of the table, cold controlled, absolute. The Morabitos made one fatal mistake. His gaze swept the room. They assumed family makes me weak. He leaned forward. It doesn't, his voice hardened. It gives me purpose. No shouting, no theatrics, just certainty. By sunrise, this ends. Across the hall, Penny felt something wrong. Years of survival sharpen intuition. She found Leo preparing weapons. Her stomach dropped. You're leaving? Leo turned. Silence answered first. Then honesty. Yes. Penny stepped closer. No. Leo's jaw tightened. Penny, no. Her voice sharpened. I know that look. She pointed at him. That is not strategy. That is revenge. Leo exhaled slowly. Revenge? His voice stayed controlled. They threatened our son. Our son, Penny shot back, needs a father alive. That sentence hit hard, hard enough to crack the armor. This is where many people misunderstand love. Love is not blind loyalty. Sometimes love stands in front of destruction and says no. Penny moved closer, took his face in both hands. I did not survive fire. Her voice trembled. Just to lose you to rage. Leo closed his eyes. Her words landed deeper than commands ever could. She continued, Come back. A tear escaped. Promise me you come back. Leo opened his eyes, and for the first time that night, fear appeared. Not fear of dying, fear of leaving them. Fear changes priorities. He pressed his forehead to hers. I promise. Then a smaller voice interrupted. Dad? Mateo stood at the doorway. Leo turned. The boy walked in. Calm, too calm. He held a chess piece. The Black King. He approached his father, then placed it into Leo's palm. I know you're going to fight. Leo stared. Mateo continued. They're attacking because they think they can win. He pointed to the king. In chess, you don't protect the king by hiding forever. A pause. You remove the threat. Dante, watching nearby, exchanged a glance with Tommy. Even now the boy thought strategically, but then Mateo said something that shattered Leo. Just don't die before teaching me how to beat you. Leo dropped to one knee, pulled his son into his arms, tightly. The boy hugged back. No hesitation. No guarded distance trust. Complete trust, and trust is sacred. Leo kissed Mateo's hair. I'll come back. Mateo nodded. Good. Then quietly, I just got my dad. Even Leo broke. A single tear slipped down his face. He stood, turned, and left. The night became war. Black SUVs tore through Chicago. Gunfire lit abandoned warehouses. Morabito strongholds collapsed one by one. Leo moved like judgment. Precise, relentless, merciless. Hours passed. Explosions echoed across industrial blocks. By dawn, only one target remained. The Morabito leader, Rico Morabito. Cornered inside a burning warehouse, Leo entered alone. Smoke curled through shattered beams. Rico laughed bitterly. You changed, Moretti. Leo raised his weapon. No, Rico smirked. You became soft? Leo stared. Then something profound happened. He lowered the gun. Rico blinked, confused. Leo stepped closer. You still don't understand. His voice was calm, deadly. You think family makes men weak. Another step. It doesn't. Another. It makes them impossible to stop. Rico reached for a hidden weapon, too slow. One shot, clean, final. Rico collapsed. War ended. Just like that. The last threat fell. Sunrise painted Chicago gold as Leo's convoy returned home. The estate gates opened. And there they were, waiting. Penny, Mateo, standing together. Leo stepped out. For 1 second, nobody moved. Then Mateo ran, fast, straight into Leo's arms. Leo caught him instantly, lifted him. held him like something sacred. Penny followed slower, tears already falling. Leo set Matteo down, then crossed the final distance. He took Penny into his arms. No words, none needed. Some reunions don't require language, only presence, only touch, only proof. I came back. Penny buried her face against his chest and cried. Not from fear. Not from grief, from release. 10 years of pain finally leaving. Sometimes healing doesn't look dramatic. Sometimes it looks like safety lasting long enough for the body to stop fighting. Months later, the Moretti Empire changed. Leo remained powerful, but different. Brutality became selective. Violence became strategic. Legacy mattered more than dominance. Matteo studied under the sharpest minds Leo could find and still destroyed everyone at chess. Penny became something no one expected, not merely Leo's partner. Not simply the mother of his heir, she became the mind many feared most, because she understood survival better than anyone. She knew hunger, humiliation, pain, and people who survive those things often become impossible to manipulate. The invisible waitress was gone. The queen remained, and perhaps that is the real lesson of this story. Never judge strength by appearance, never confuse softness with weakness, and never underestimate someone simply because the world taught them to shrink, because the woman mocked. For her weight, ignored by society, humiliated in public, became the most powerful woman in Chicago's underworld. Not because she changed her body, because she reclaimed her worth, and Leo learned the truth too. The woman he loved never disappeared. She survived, scarred, changed, stronger. Still his queen, still the one who saved his life. And this time, neither of them would let go. So remember this story the next time you're tempted to judge someone by what you see on the outside. You never know what battles they survived. You never know what strength they hide. And sometimes, the person everyone overlooks is the one powerful enough to change everything. If this story moved you, let me know in the comments. What moment hit you the hardest? And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more emotional cinematic stories like this. Until next time.